The City of Joburg is making some big promises. 10 police officers in each of the city's 135 wards, 6 kilolitres of free water to all households, and electrification of both informal and formal areas. These are just some of the key priorities announced by Mayor Geoff Makhubo in today's State of the City address. He joins me now live. Mayor, thanks for your time. We appreciate it. So you have made several promises to residents of the City of Johannesburg. I want to break it down, and let's start with free electricity, or electricity rather, when it comes to informal settlements. We know it's been one of the major issues of concern for the city, and that's, of course, illegal connections. How are you going to make this happen?
Well, working with the national government, and let me start by saying good afternoon to you and to the viewers. Working with national government, there's a grant called the Informal Settlement Upgrade Grant. That UISP grant will help us to deal with deficiencies of service delivery, and especially infrastructure deficiencies in informal settlements. So we are identifying at least the older informal settlements that we had left in 2016. There were 160 of them. Now we know that they've grown to over 230 with land invasions that have been going on that we are really wanting to reverse. But we're starting with the older informal settlements to electrify them. In the ESCOM supply areas, we're working together with ESCOM and national government to ensure that those are electrified. A few of them have been electrified already, but we are going on with the program.
Yeah. And then just in terms of housing, that's also a promise you're making to Johannesburg residents. We've seen protests over land grabs, residents saying that they're not happy with city officials for ignoring their plight for land. How are you going to handle that? Because that's also a big issue that we deal with, especially because of migration.
Well, it's been proven that in this illegal occupation, I'll call them unlawful occupation of land, especially in the south of Johannesburg, majority of these occupiers are actually syndicates who are preying on the poor. Yes, there are people who've been waiting for houses, and we do admit, but there are others who've been patiently waiting for houses in the 96 to 2000 waiting list, and we do say that we are addressing that via Lufereng program, South Hills program, via a flare-off program. So these are 3 mega projects in our city that are addressing the backlog of housing. But these are syndicates who take property, sell land and shacks that do not belong, land that does not belong to them. They sell it to the poor, especially to the foreign nationals who are in need of accommodation. So if you go to these informal settlements that have sprung up, you'll find a lot of illegal foreign nationals in those settlements that are looking for a place to stay, and they are buying these shacks from these syndicates. Now we're working together with law enforcement agencies to really get to the root of this and deal with it decisively.
Yeah, it's easy for you to say that you are addressing this, but then we see these protests happening quite often when it comes to service delivery in the city of Johannesburg. And we could talk about electricity, we could talk about housing, we could talk about running water. Those are the concerns that many residents have when it comes to informal settlements. Do you have a timeline, Mayor, to actually address all of these concerns?
No, indeed. I mean, if we look at the supply of water, there's something called level of service 1. Let's say 1 standpipe for every 8 houses. That is allowable by the policy of national government or the South African policy. We have about 98% penetration of supply of level of service 1. We call it loss 1 of water. We are trying to get standpipes in every home so that within a proximity of 100 meters at least, people should be able to have access to water. Electricity, as I say, is going to take about 2-3 years to break the back of the electricity need in the informal settlements, from Deep Sloot to Orange Farm, from the north to the south, from the east to the west, of addressing each and every informal settlement with electricity. The issue of housing, the backlog is huge. The demand for outstrip supply, which is why in our speech we did allude to the issue of rapid land release, service stands so that people can build for themselves. You can see even in these illegal settlements that people are building brick and mortar. So there is a way that people can build for themselves. We don't have enough land, which is why we are densifying and building 4 stories. To avoid sprawl, we're trying to have high density dwellings in areas where people can share in flats and 4-story buildings as PNGs. We call them PNGs, which is a keepaways. Affordable rental is one solution that we are working with in the private sector, and social housing for those who do not want to own, but they are just interested to rent because they've got houses maybe where they come from in informal settlements. So the budget the speech and the budget that we're presenting month end is really a budget looking at the new term of office and the medium term of solving the backlog of service delivery in Johannesburg.
Yeah, and potholes, how are you dealing with that? I know you had a campaign recently with private companies to actually fix that, and that's something residents have been complaining about for years.
No, I admit that the state of our roads has not been what it should be. The VCI index that we inherited in 2019 showed that quite a large percentage of our roads, the large number of kilometers of our roads are not in good condition, leading to potholes and roads cracking and all that. So we are hard at work with our 120 days accelerated service delivery. We're going street by street, block by block, ward by ward. We've not gone far yet. We've done about 10 wards. But then the private sector came to us and said they want to work with us to deal with and expedite the issue of fixing potholes. They found us already working with GRA. So the two companies, Dial Direct and Discovery Insure, extended the hand and said, look, we want to contribute to making our city a much better city. And of course, as a city, we appreciate partnership with the private sector, partnership with the unions, partnership with civil society, in order to make this Johannesburg a world-class African city to be.
Yeah, that's one of the things I often say, this world-class African city is not world-class because we have potholes, we have billing issues, we have service delivery concerns from residents. Where does the buck stop? Who takes responsibility for everything that we're seeing, especially the unhappiness?
Ultimately, the political head of the city is the executive mayor, who's myself, and I'm ultimately responsible for ensuring that all the 37,000 employees of the city are doing what they should be doing, that the budget is spent optimally where it should be spent. So if you look at the business plans and whether we are achieving the KPIs in the business plans, then we should be judged on that. Unfortunately, with the limited resources, we can't address every issue at the same time. So they need to be staggered throughout the medium term. So other communities would be impatient and say, look, we've been waiting. Meanwhile, when in our planning, if you look at what we call a JSIP system, the system that has all the projects, they are there, but they are in the outer years. But ultimately, the mayor, the mayoral committee, and council itself and the city manager would be responsible for ensuring that the city becomes what it should be.
Lastly, just a question on the Bank of Lisbon report. We're still waiting to hear what the findings are of that report. We spoke to families, of course, over the past couple of days who say they're waiting for closure. What's taking so long? It's been 2 years.
I have not gotten a briefing. I will have to get, because I know the province was dealing with that matter, because it was their building, and we'll get from EMS what the progress is, what the investigation is, and then we'll release to the public the outcomes of the investigation. As it stands at the moment, I am unaware of any findings as it relates to the Bank of Lisbon building.